Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. Today, I'm going to start insulating this post frame building with regular fiberglass big box store insulation. Let me show you what I got so far. In the bottom of these pockets, the only openings were at the very ends, and they varied a little bit. They were between 1/4 of an inch, some were a little bit bigger, and that I filled with this excluder rodent barrier kit. You wedge that stuff down in there nice and tight, and that'll keep the mice from getting in. But you're not going to get all of the tiny little spots with that. This right here is 2 thicknesses of XPS foam, and I left a gap, about 1/2 inch at the ends, and I filled those gaps with Great Stuff Pest Block foam. I believe this stuff has borax in it or something, but this will keep the insects from getting through. So these pockets are now completely sealed up. And if we have a real bad water event, like a big monsoon rain, and the water does happen to get up into here, it's not going to affect the XPS at all. It's just going to drain back out. I didn't want to have fiberglass insulation going all the way down to ground level. You probably won't have to do this, but it's like 20 degrees today. When I did that stuff yesterday, it was between 5 and 10 degrees. It's way too cold for that pest block to set up correctly. So what I'm doing is heating up the pocket and the gap where the pest block's gonna go. Then I'll apply the pest block, put the heat back on it, let it cure, and move on to the next one. But this bay right here, I did yesterday. We got the pest block on both ends, so this one's ready to go. It took me a good while to figure out how I'm going to insulate these things. I watched a bunch of videos. RR Builders has somebody else do it, so they're not much of a help. But what I seen on that, it looked like they had really big bats, and they put the plastic cap nails, they're long nails with like a round plastic washer on it. It looked like they fired those into the girts here, which of course will compress the insulation and it'll lose R value. But even if I wanted to do that giant bat insulation like that and use the plastic caps, I couldn't find the real big bats like that to start with. Another way to insulate these big openings is to break it up with studs. Put studs 16 or 24 inches on center, and that's what I did in our other building. But the problem is, right now, lumber is at insanely high prices, and with a stud wall, you're going to get thermal transmission through the stud. Another option is spray foam, which has its pluses and minuses. The biggest minus is it's about 10 times the cost of fiberglass insulation in our area. It might not be that expensive in your area, but it's incredibly expensive in this area. If you're going to spray foam, you want to put house wrap on so the spray foam connects to the house wrap and not to the back of the panels. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to take the panels off if you get a dent or something. So my solution is a combination of things. I'm going to use this Insul-Hold system. This is basically a metal strip. I'll be putting 4 of them in here, 1 for each roll. The rolls are 2 foot wide, and this opening is 8 feet wide, roughly. I'm going to use 1 per roll, and what that does, you put that in, and then you bend out these tabs, and then it has all these spikes, and the insulation is pushed up into those spikes, and that's what'll hold it in place. Also, once it's in there, well, I'll tape all the edges and staple it to these columns as well. But once it's in there, girts are going to go across the front like this. What I'll do is spray the area where the girt's going to go with contact adhesive, spray the back of the girt, and then put the girt on. And what that'll do is connect it to the girt in like 4 places. And the results should be that the insulation doesn't sag at all. At least that's what I'm hoping. I'll show you this a bit later because it might be a little bit hard to envision, but the top girt is going to go right below that truss right there, but the Insul-Hold is going to go up higher, up to the top of that girt right there. The insulation is going to go right up to that opening up there. So the area above the girt needs the craft paper peeled back. So what I'm going to do is peel it back and wrap it over the top girt and staple it in place. So the insulation will basically be hanging from that as well. It's a little bit complicated, but you'll see what I'm talking about as I go along. All right, let's get some foam on these two, and then we'll start with the fiberglass. First thing I'm going to do is spritz some hot water down into the opening. I'm using hot water because it's very cold out here, and water in general speeds the curing of great stuff foam. Alright, I've shaken this can a huge amount. It's very important that you shake it. That's a little overkill, but it'll work. Now for the other side. Alright, first a little bit of a spritz. Then get all the way down to the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to reset up my insulation and let this cure for a couple hours, and then I'll move the whole thing to a different post. Alright, a little bit of math real quick, and then I got to run across the street and get something to cut this with. Each one of the openings is 91.5 inches wide, and 4 pieces of insulation. The insulation is 23 inches wide. 4 pieces of it is 92 inches wide, which is a ½ inch wider than the opening, which is perfect. We want a nice snug fit. All right, I'm gonna go get something to cut this. I got my tape right here, almost ready to go. All right, I have 1 strip of this Insul-Hold in place, and I'll show you that in much more detail a little bit later. But for now, I'm just going to show you my spacing. Between here and right here, that's the 23 inches. That's 1 sheet of insulation. I installed this strip roughly 2/3 of the way over to the edge from this column because I'm going to be stapling one edge of that, stapling it and taping it to the column. So that's going to give it plenty of support. It's going to have less support out in the middle here. So I went 2/3 of the way out. Then you have the edge here and the edge here. This one is centered, same with this one. And then this one, again, is the 15 inches away. I'm thinking that's going to work real good, but we'll see once we put the insulation in. All right, it's getting really, really cold out here. I'm going to go warm up and have some lunch and come back, and I'll show you how these are put in, and hopefully we'll get some insulation in today. All right, I got back from lunch and put a couple more of these on. Pretty cool, but it took me a lot longer than I thought. I had to bring in firewood. I had to put wipers on my daughter's vehicle. And we have winter weather watch going. Really nice. So I only have, about 20 more minutes to work today. So I'm going to have to put the insulation on in a separate video. But that's okay. But to wrap up this video, I'm going to cut one of these Insul-Hold strips and install it, show you how to get that done, and then we'll deal with the insulation stuff tomorrow. So let's get at this. Tomorrow, I'm going to see if I can find something to go through this hole and make a better mount for this. You can hand feed this out, just hold this and hand feed it out, but it's a lot quicker this way. Right now I have it going over one of these pins kind of loosely and lightly clamped to the frame there. If you clamp it too tight, it's going to pinch on the roll. So what I'm going to do is pull this out right to the end of that board and then measure back 148 inches and cut it right there. Okay, 148 inches is right here, but I'm going to go to about right here. That'll place the bottom hole for the next one in exactly the right spot. And this will be the top. I'll fold this over the top, the extra. Okay, the bottom hole on this one should be in the exact right position because I did the same thing on the last one. Okay, I got my ladder set up so that I can get at a few of these here, but more importantly, I'm going to use these stretchers here to loop my Pokey Stabby thing over it. That way I have it positioned, or that way I have it held up so that I can get the bottom screw in. Then I'll yank it tight, and I believe there's no screw in that one. I got to drill a hole for that. So I'll stand up, yank it tight, and then get a screw in this one, then work my way up. Got 1-inch washer head Tex screws. Pull this thing really tight and look for the line through the hole. Okay, my foam should be completely cured. Yes, it is. Turn these off. Ooh, toasty warm. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Beautiful. This thing takes a while to turn off. Okay, so tomorrow I need to bend these out, which is kind of scary. Pokey Stabby things. Yeah, you can bend them way out. I don't know, maybe I'll have to use a wrench or something because this is pretty stiff metal. Yeah, it's going to be real interesting. So I got to bend these out, then get my fiberglass cut to the exact length, and then go up on the ladder. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that. Go up on the ladder to the right height, get it matched up with the top, and then press it onto there, and then staple the side. Yeah, I have a feeling this is going to be more difficult than it seems, but I don't know. We'll see. All right, so tomorrow we'll be putting some insulation on the Pokey Stabby things, and it should be really interesting. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe and click on the update icon. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section below. And if you share the video and or give it a like, it helps the channel out greatly. Thanks for watching and have a great day.